So we'll go ahead and switch gears, everybody. We'll start talking about finances. The Special Services District Fund, or also known as the SSD. As a part of this topic, it would be great to talk about what services are currently being paid for by the SSD, and to also identify services that are being paid for by the general fund, if that's within your scope. Thank you.
Okay, my name's Ray Turner, Finance Department. So I want to start off really talking about revenues in the South Fulton district. To give you just some frame or perspective, in 2004, our actual revenues for the South Fulton unincorporated area, $47.5 million. The bulk of that does come from property taxes, which is $32.5 million in 2014. In 2015, we went up to $49.7 million. We saw property tax collections increase because the assessed values started to come up. Again, we're climbing out of the recession at this point. Business license taxes also increased some in 2015 as well. In the formulation of the 2016 budget, which is what we're operating under right now, we touched on annexations. We actually reduced our expected revenues from property taxes about $1 million due to some of these recent annexations that have happened over the last year and a half. As those revenues would now go to that municipality, and they would not go to the unincorporated area. Now, there's an offset to that. This was the first year where an additional portion of the local option sales tax, which all goes into the county's general fund. This year, our board moved to take $2 million of that revenue and basically transfer that back down into the South Fulton tax district.
Thanks to Commissioner Darnell
yes.
and but more importantly, Earl Reed, because he was the one who gave me the suggestion.
And conceptually, it's a very, very good point. Under current law, an unincorporated area does not get to enjoy local option sales tax. The big revenue differential, should there be a city of South Fulton, is going to be sales tax, and that far outweighs any other differences in revenue. The last time someone in finance did an analysis, we used the same methodology when the North Fulton Cities Incorporated, going back to 2006, 2007, and it was largely based on the population. And based on that analysis we did, we think the number is probably close to $20 million. So that's a monumental change in revenue picture. Now, it does reduce the county's general fund revenues by the same 20, but a new city, based on that population at the time, would enjoy a new kick-in of additional revenue that it would be substantial to the current revenues that are going into the South Fulton area. James is going to talk some more about expenses that we incur in South Fulton. I'll just touch on that one issue of what does the general fund pay for services that are primarily used in unincorporated Fulton, and that primarily is roads and transportation. For years, the general fund has paid for unincorporated road maintenance and improvements. When the North Cities Incorporated, obviously they take care of their own roads now. So we take care of roads in unincorporated Fulton out of the general fund. And for the last 3 years, I think that's been about $5.1 to $5.2 million. That's signalization, paving, signage, right-of-way, those type of things. So again, that's a new expense that if there were to be a new city, that would one that they would have to bear. But again, you've got the offset of the additional sales tax revenue that would go to that new town. Again, finance is not advocating for or against, but we do want to give you as much information as we can. If we have the information, we are very happy to distribute, whether through our website, whether through Commissioner Arrington or Commissioner Darnell's capable hands and their website and their distribution. So we have no reason to hold the information, so whatever we know, we'll be glad to pass around. I'm going to let James, our budget analyst from New Orleans, discuss the expenditure side of the South Fulton Incorporated area.
Hello everyone. Just as a high-level overview of the expenditures for 2016, the budget for South Fulton was approximately $55 million. And out of that, most of the budget is allocated to public safety services, to fire and police. Between both of those, you have approximately $32 to $33 million in expenditures. And then you also have some of the allocations that are actually done to your overhead services. You have finance, you have some money that goes to personnel, then you also have some centralization that goes to a specific place where pension and some of the other large item expenses are allocated. Other than that, you have also some information technology, you have park services, and around the addition of all of those will total the $55 million for the year.
And so we actually have some printouts of the SSD fund from 2014, 2015, and 2016. And so what we can do is try to make this available on our website. And we will also try to make sure that we email that out to everyone so that everyone can get a look at it. And I guess we could probably pass one around if people want to take a look at it briefly, but I think also it's important to know in the Fulton County budget, we talk about the different millage rates. And so everyone talks about the different millage rates over the cities. The millage rate in Hapeville is 16.61. The millage rate in East Point is 15. Millage rate in College Park is 12.619. City of Atlanta millage rate is 10.281. Chattahoochee Hills is 10.958. South Fulton millage rate for the SSD fund is 12.469. Union City is 10.598. Palmetto is 8.5. And Fairburn is 9.98. And we have a copy of this map or of this chart that shows the different millage rates, so we can also make that available. And we'll make sure that we get that out to everyone via email, and then we also post it on the website. Vanjie, and then I know there have to be some other questions about the budget and the money.
Exactly. Before you ask a question, I have a question. The millage rate, I know it can be reduced by, if we bring in enough money or more money than supposedly we need, you can reduce the millage rate. Is that an accurate statement? And the reason I'm asking that is because the millage rate is set based on what our need is at this point in time. But if we have those additional revenues, is it possible or probable that the millage rate would even go down? Okay.
And quick correction, I was just informed millage rate for South Fulton for 2016 is 11.59, not 12.469. So I don't know if that was the 2015 number or maybe that was the budget number, and maybe they actually reduced it. I don't recall. Yes, ma'am.
Quick question. I'm directed to whomever can respond. Someone earlier said that as a part of annexation, the cities that you would be annexed into had a commitment to provide services. In other words, if I agree, if the city of Atlanta is coming to me and saying that we will provide certain services for you, and they're obligated to provide those services, that has to become part of the equation, because right now I understand that in those areas that have been annexed into the city of Atlanta recently, Fulton County is providing services to those areas under contract. I'd like someone to speak to the provision of fire, police, and other services to recently annexed areas in unincorporated county, and those services be provided not by the city of Atlanta, but under contract by Fulton County?
Ma'am, if I may compliment you, you've done your homework. You asked some of some very interesting questions. By state law, the city is to provide only one of the 3 of 14 enumerated services. There's nothing in state law that requires any annexation. They can promise you what they want, but there's nothing in state law that requires the city of Atlanta to provide those services by a special date. Why should they in certain cases where now you're in, you can't de-annex? That's what we get in, and this is statewide policy. We get into the argument all the time. We try to, require law to say that upon this date they provide them. So it's up to them. There are definitely, I know, services still provided by the county. That's done, we talked earlier about an intergovernmental agreement. The next question I might assume you would ask, why doesn't the county just not provide them? At the county level, it's not that easy because counties represent all the folks. If a city has said that they're going to provide these services in a special time frame, they do not. The county, I mean, politically, these our folks get elected, they represent everyone, they don't pick and choose. They're going to continue to provide it, but that is one of the biggest contentions on annexation statewide, has been for many years on the provision of services shortly upon or shortly thereafter annexation. But again, state law does not require that, despite whatever was promised to these property owners when they annexed into the city.
Todd, can I ask, is there anything that DCA does in the oversight to make sure that or to monitor, at least to the extent that that occurs or doesn't occur, that the provision of services?
There's no way, again, it's always argued what level of services, but if you have the 14, it could be something as a library. They could argue, hey, well, we've got planning and zoning, that's one of the 3. We've got a bookmobile that goes to your area once a month, that's our library. There's a lot of ways to game the system. DCA may measure it. I think it can also be worked out with service delivery when that comes back up, when it's time for renewal every 10 years. I'm not sure to what extent DCA, that's the State Department of Community Affairs, monitors it. At the end of the day, is there anything to enforce it? I would argue in statute, no. Outside those 3, it's vague on. I mean, we're kind of off subject. I wanted to mention I'm just saying it's not against the law, or there are ways around it, but that's a very good
Perhaps
question.
there's a problem with the law that's going on, I guess.
And again, it's difficult to change. We'd like to change a lot of things, but obviously there are those on the other side that respectfully disagree.
As it relates to finances, what is the total pool of lost funds that were generated for the latest year, which I guess would be 2015?
If I had to guess, probably, I think the latest thing I thought for the full 1% throughout the entire county is around 240 or so, 250 million. The county's general fund in the last negotiation, which occurred, I think about 3 years ago, is the county gets 14% of that number, and all that goes into the general fund. Last year was about 36 million. I think we're budgeting $36 million to receive this year. Of that amount, $2 million will be transferred into the South District, so it'll be about a net $34 million to the general fund for this year.
Okay, I was just looking at the big, because I tried to find it on the state site, and I couldn't find what Fulton County local option sales tax total was.
Yeah, and there's a new T-SPLOS initiative that's going to be coming up for referendum that's specific for transportation, where the unincorporated areas of North Fulton get a certain rate, and Atlanta gets a certain rate, and of that a certain rate goes to Marvin. So,
And that's all based on population too, correct?
I think so.
And that is primarily the basis for division of lost also, correct?
I'm sorry, sir?
I said that is the primary basis for the loss division within Fulton County.
Yeah, the latest calculations, as I understand it, years and years and years ago, it was based on a variety of factors. But since I've been at the county and the new city's formed, it seems to be population is the primary way to distribute those lost revenues.
And it will be renegotiated once the 2020 census. That's about
2020 census, that's correct, sir.
If I may add that while it's common to use population, it is also very much negotiated. There is no state formula that says it is population. So it is sometimes a default in the negotiations amongst the cities because it is something that's easy to deal with, but it is not the standard. I'm sorry, there's no formula. And so you can't go to the census and look up the formulas of population and figure that out and have it be exact.
Mr. Reed, I did do my homework when you asked me for that assignment you gave me. I went to finance and asked for the long math on how we got to the 20 million and 35 million, and I will have to forward you an email, but there is an email, I believe, that came from the Georgia Department of Revenue that kind of outlines the percentage and the way that they came up with the numbers. And so basically, at the time when the other cities came on Fulton, and so the long math is based on that number that the Georgia Department of Revenue did at that time.
Yeah, I've seen the listing breakdown from Fulton County currently. And, I know how that is done. I just couldn't come up with a number for the latest year. The last year I could find 2013. I could see what the loss funds were generated all over. And then using those percentages, you can take it right down. I just couldn't find anything for 2015.
If you send me an email, we'll make sure to follow up.
Yeah, we'll certainly give you everything. And it's changed. There's a new way that motor vehicle taxes are assessed.
Right.
And it's called TABT. And now there's, I think, ABT or AAT. So like in our total sales tax, I don't have, for property tax for motor vehicle, and now it's somewhat of a different tax. So there's always some variables at play.
And I knew that would affect it because it does change the amount of taxes you pay to buy a vehicle.
Right.
It's a pretty big difference.
Yes, it
So
is.
it did drop it down, and I just didn't know how much. Thank you very much.
My question relates to the budget. In specific, I'm just trying to get some clarity on the budget expenditures. Within the budget itself, there's allocations that the SSD pays to the county services, like finance and IT and that kind of thing. Does that money go back, I don't know this question. Does that money go back to the SSD? I think one application is like $4 million or something.
Yeah, so he's asking about cost allocation. Basically, the county charges the SSD for providing services. There's some services like the county attorney, the county manager, and other general fund services that the county basically says they basically bill us back for. And last year, that amount was $5 million. I think it even been up higher than that. We actually, through the budget process this year, we got that number down to $2.5 million, okay? Because in my mind, it's kind of a double, sometimes even a triple tax. Because we've already paid for the county services to our property taxes. And so, the idea that we have to pay for municipal services makes sense because the county doesn't normally provide those. But, should we have to pay for the county attorney twice? Should we have to pay for the county manager twice? So what we did, to some extent, to try to minimize that, we decreased through negotiations with the other commissioners and the county manager, we got that number down for cost allocation to $2.5 million. At the same time, we got another $2.5 million added to the SSD fund, right? So that's a $5 million swing. And then we got another $3 million based on Mr. Reed telling me to ask for the lost dollars. We got another $3 million added to transportation, which just paid for the repavement of Stonewall Tail Road and also Flat Shoals Road. And so of that 20, Mr. Reed, I'm proud to report that we got at least 6.5 of it this year. And so we'll be going back for the rest next year, and or it will be going to the new city of South Fulton.
So the 2.5 you have now will go to the bottom line of the revenue for the new city, if the new city is formed.
So yes, sir, so if a new city is formed, that 2.5, that the new city would be able to use that 2.5 however they want to. Now, they're still gonna have to pay for the mayor and city council and, you know, all those other things, but yes, I don't know, what that would cost in the first year for a new city.
No, you're exactly right. Again, the 2.5 goes to the bottom line, but now this area's going to have to prop up their own administration, their own council, their own HR department. You're going to have to set up a new benefit plan if you want to attract an employee. You're going to have to set up new payroll systems. You're going to have to acquire a new financial accounting system that's your own. You're going to have to prop up a legal department. Probably especially in the first year. There's a lot of ordinances and a lot of resolutions that have to be adopted in the first year. One is insurance premium tax. The South Fulton Tax District gets something from the state called insurance premium tax. And I know for one of the new cities, going back to 2000, I think this is 2006, one of the new cities overlooked establishing that ordinance to collect insurance premium tax. And they did not get it the first year, and I think it was $800,000. So there are a lot of administrative machinations that you have to really focus on and know your game, so you don't lose out on some of those revenues in year one.
The talk of budget, I'm not sure if we're going to get this in later, but the lost is obviously going to be the largest portion outside property tax for the revenues for the cities. But just go over these real quick. In addition, these are your other revenue sources, and some of them were mentioned in the feasibility study. You're going to have the SPLOST, special purpose, local option sales tax. You're going to be in those negotiations with the counties and other cities. You're going to get all business occupation taxes. You're going to get franchise fees, which are going to be new revenue outside of cable because counties can't collect that. You're going to get the insurance premium tax, which was just mentioned if you pass an ordinance. These are revenues that currently the county's collecting. They're probably caught up and divvied out according to the special service district. Local maintenance improvement grants from the Department of Transportation you're now eligible for. Hotel, motel tax, alcohol taxes, licensing fees. There's a lot of revenue out there, and I believe they've all been taken into account. But there's also within these areas means by which to diverse and fund, increase, decrease, or work around. So the revenue's obviously there, and y'all done a good job incorporating them, allocating them out, collecting in the special district. But you're not alone with only property tax and local option sales tax. There's a lot of other revenues that will be coming in to fund this new city should it be created.
And one other thing that the gentleman, again, he made the case for us when he talked about all that land in South Fulton County. We have something that none of the other cities have. We have vacant land. And by having vacant land, you can determine what goes on it through your zoning process. And if you control the zoning process, then you get to decide what kind of revenues that land is going to generate. Nobody else had that option. We are the only county, the only city that will have that. So that is an asset. That is not a liability by any stretch of imagination.
I want to recognize and see we have Mr. Tony Phillips in the audience. He's a candidate for State Senate District 35. We definitely want to recognize him. Thank you for coming out. Again, we'll go to you, sir, for the next question, and then we'll come to you, sir.
Great, thank you. My name is Steve Littles. I live up on, the north side of the Cascade corridor. I apologize, I didn't want to keep coming up, but I just got a couple of quick, hopefully some clarification needs. I think Mr. Edwards talked about de-annexation and saying that de-annexation, Mr. Edwards said something about the municipality had the ability to stop with de-annexation. Is that correct?
Sole unilateral authority, I believe, were the correct words, but yes, that is the case.
But isn't it treated just like annexation? It doesn't.
No.
Well,
there's a double standard.
Well, Georgia Municipal Association, their general counsel kind of said that it's treated the same.
No, that's absolutely incorrect, and the municipal association will fight vehemently any change to make them equal. De-annexation is the sole authority of the city. Annexation is not the authority of the county. I mean, it might be treated the same way as far as the city is concerned. But if they want, yeah, if you're gonna like be added to the city, yes, the city has to give you permission.
But isn't it the same code?
No,
It's,
it's the same code, but it's not the same treatment.
should you interpret the same code differently for annexation versus?
I think there are different sections that address different things, and so you gotta be specific in what you're talking about.
36, 36, 22, what you talking about?
There's a code section just for de-annexation and a separate one for annexation.
Just
They're in the same section of the code, this sub-paragraph just for de-annexation and another paragraph for annexation.
And they're treated similarly, but the difference is with de-annexation, there's only really one method, which is the 100% rule. And so, but other than that, they're treated similarly, but specifically, I mean, you know, you gotta get to the specific facts when you start talking about the differences.
The important thing I believe to remember in this case is, can you de-annex from a city without the city's permission? No. Once you're in for life unless the city says otherwise. There are all sorts of other provisions. Some of the provisions might be the same, but at the end of the day, what counts is once you're in the city, you're in the city, unless the city says differently.
And there's a rationale. All these laws were created a gazillion years ago, and they were created based on large landowners who control large parcels of land. They did not anticipate what's going on right now, and so the laws need to be changed to reflect current issues, and that's what we will be working on in the General Assembly. We just got to get some of those folks that are big landowners that are in the General Assembly to understand what we're trying to do here. So once we get back to them treating stuff like local legislation where they're supposed to, they'll get some of this stuff.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. When the legislature can de-annex, it's a little difficult, it creates controversy. So there is that method, but as far as outside of the bill being passed in the General Assembly, it's totally different. You cannot de-annex without the city's permission. Thank you.
Real quick, we know what the lost tonnage will be to the new city, but how much was generated in the area which would be something?
Yeah, we don't know that, and we've asked information like that from the Department of Revenue for years. How much sales tax revenue is generated in this area, that area, this municipality, and we have not had any luck getting that data from the Department of Revenue.
So since the distribution is negotiable, is it possible that they may change it from population to something else, because there are several ways to do that?
They could. And when they do that negotiation, counties will obtain a study as to what we believe their fair share should be of sales tax. Municipalities will conduct a study or hire someone to see what their fair share of sales tax. And those reports will have probably dramatically different numbers. And they will take that to a negotiation. And then those entities will decide how are we going to allocate that sales tax. Population is one factor, but it's not the only one.
And based upon the current, or not necessarily the current formula, but the formula that we got from the Georgia Department of Revenue in 2007, of the 36 million that the county currently receives in lost dollars, approximately 20 million of that would be generated from the unincorporated area, is the approximation. 20 million of the approximate 20 million of the 36 million, approximately 20 million of the 36 million is generated either in the area or based on the population of our area.
And one last thing, maybe later on, Dr. Miller talked about the Fulton separation. Can you talk about what's going on with that, and because that's going to affect Fulton County in general?
Okay, so that was a proposal many years ago. We worked on that in 2008.
Are you talking about
I'm talking about the folks on the north side wanting to separate and reform Wilton County.
And so that was a study we did many years ago, around 2008, and when there was some perhaps support. I have not heard much about that. I think that's kind of a dead initiative right now. It hasn't Has it come up again that I know about, perhaps President Bruce?
What that was a way to separate themselves from, basically from Fulton County government. And, no offense, but the fact that all of them now have their own cities, they've pretty much done what they wanted to do in terms of having local control. So it's not as big of an issue as it was once before. There are still a few people who are just diehards that are doing it, but there hasn't really been any movement in the General Assembly over the last couple of years because they solved their problem, so to speak, by just creating cities.
Is it possible?
Anything is possible. You know, anything is possible, but probable is a different thing.
It's, creating a new county is not quite as simple as it is creating a city. Counties are constitutional entities in the state of Georgia. There are 159 listed in the county in the Constitution. In order to change that, it would take a 2/3 vote by both houses of the General Assembly, and it would take ratification from all Georgia voters. This is not something easily done, nor should it be. So, yes, if there was a new county created, it would throw a lot of this into turmoil and many fronts for the county and all the cities within the county. But it's much more difficult. You're absolutely right. There's not quite the sentiment there was a few years ago. I think a lot of folks in the General Assembly, this just is my perspective, have seen that meaningful progress has been made, a lot of cooperation in Fulton County. So things are going better as far as the General Assembly is concerned, but that throws everything into it.
And you know, a lot of that was also in response to what was going on in Fulton County, right? And they couldn't control Fulton County. To some extent, I think the current board of commissioners of Fulton County, Commissioner Darnell, myself, and the others, Commissioner Eves, Commissioner Garner, to some extent, I think we've done a good job of hiring the right people that help kind of minimize that effect, right? We've got a new county manager that is, you know, Republican from North Fulton, and we've got a new chief operating officer that used to work with the Georgia DOT. It is such a pleasure to have him, and it's such an asset for Fulton County to have a former Georgia DOT director on our staff now, and to have the county manager who used to be the chair of the Georgia Regional Transportation Authority, and to have the access to resources. So I think, you know, a lot of strategic decisions have been made to help kind of quell that push for Milton County, although you still hear it out there, given the constitutional requirements that Ty mentioned, and constitutional challenges, and the vote and the referendum by all Georgia voters, the possibility of that happening, I think, is very remote.
But you're saying that because of all the new changes in the leadership that we should stay unincorporated?
Well, you know, here's the thing. I mean, there are a lot of people that want to stay unincorporated, but I think that Representative Bruce is right, and the facts show it, that with all of these different annexations, and I won't even say that they're by cities, because part of what is really the landowners, right? The landowners are the ones that are agreeing to it. So these people that are annexing are saying that they don't want to be in the city of South Fulton, and guess what? That's okay. That's fine. You know, if they don't want to be, I think everyone should have the right to choose where they want to live, right? If you want to live in Atlanta, if you want to live in East Point, in Union City, or a city of South Fulton, you know, that's your right as Americans. So everyone should have that right. But the challenge is that unincorporated Fulton, as Representative Bruce said, the more those annexation continue, at some point you reach a point of diminishing returns. At some point you reach a point where you're not able, the unincorporated area is not able to sustain itself. And so we're down to about 100,000 people or so in the area. And I don't know what the number is. Maybe that number is 100,000. Maybe it's 50,000. I don't know. But at some point, you're going to get to the point where it's going to be too expensive for the people left there to pay to provide all of their services. And so I think it is the wise, smart, and strategical thing to do. And as evidenced by our District 62 race, we have a lot of Representative Bruce said, I don't make sure to ask any other candidates to stand up so I don't get in any trouble with anyone. All right, so you go ahead.
I would add to that, whether the city incorporates or not, or you're an existing city, everyone down here lives in the county. In fact, everyone in Georgia does. So we all benefit. I do in East Point. We all benefit from Fulton coming up and up in the Georgia General Assembly and making the changes it has. I think as a Fulton County resident, they've done a great job. I think as an observer at the General Assembly, I think it's being recognized and they're to be commended for their efforts. But city or no city, we're still in a county and we all benefit by progress it's making.
But hence, if I can make a point, that's why we're having this summit, so that you all can vote informed. This is to help those who are undecided to go ahead and decide on what's best for you and your family. Go ahead, sir.
I'm new to this area. But I wanted to, can't hear.
Pull it out.
Now, I'm new to this area, and I'm 100% disabled veteran.
Still can't hear you.
I'm 100% disabled veteran that's exempt from property taxes, and I'm paying just about $3,000 a year. I haven't gotten exempt yet. I haven't. Still paying. That's okay. I got no problem. This city is going to go up. We're going to give them hell like you've never seen before. We're going to fight. We're going to get tired. We got a crime problem right here. Instead of having 200 officers, we only got 118. When crime's out here, it takes at least 1 hour and 2 minutes to get to people who pay $5,890 a year in property. That is completely unacceptable. Where is the money? So the money, the numbers you just counted out, when I get hold of them, we're going to be a lot more intense. Y'all have a lot more explaining to do. You're going to tell us why we're paying so much in property tax and not getting anything. This is unacceptable in every area. So, one more last thing. I'm going to direct this question to you, Ms. Cameron. I want to know how, behind Stonewall Manor, you get a Walmart warehouse distribution center that have automatically lowered those people's property value 22%, and they still paying the property taxes based on the original time that they bought those houses. That is not fair. That is called taxation without representation, and we are going to fight everybody, no matter who you are. This is not going to go down.
I'm gonna be there fighting with you. Let me tell you exactly what happened on that. And I actually had a meeting. We were trying to schedule a meeting for the 14th with Mayor Vince Williams from Union City. That land behind Stonewall Manor was annexed by the city of by Union City. Okay. And what they did, when they made the application to annex that land, they did not change the zoning. And so the county had no reason to object to that annexation. But then they waited 12 months and went to apply to Union City and change the zoning. And so Union City did that. We were supposed to I was trying to have a community meeting with Mayor Vince Williams and the developer, but they were scared of a community meeting. They wanted to, well, the mayor wasn't okay with it, but the developer didn't want to have a community-wide meeting. They only wanted to meet with the presidents of the neighborhood associations. And I said, hey, you got to open this meeting up to everybody that lives in that subdivision. You got to open the meeting up to everyone that has to drive out and see that thing every day. Now, with that said, there is a plan to have, it looks like to me there's a 0-foot buffer right now, okay? But there is a plan to have some type of vegetative buffer, and it just has not been implemented or put into place yet. But more importantly for me, the reason I want to have a community meeting is because, hey, to some extent, I agree with you. I'm mad that it's there. Had we known, and to some extent, it's our fault because we were asleep at the wheel, right? And I don't say that as Fulton County government. I say that as every individual resident in here, we should have known what was going on and should have been down there in Union City. And Mr. Reed probably knew it.
They changed those plans 3 times.
Come on down, Mayor.
They're known for that.
They changed, Mr. Reed said they changed the plans 3 times, but the point is, not only do we have to stay vigilant about what goes on in unincorporated Fulton, but we've got to stay vigilant about our neighbors. And so one of the things that we're trying to do now is to work on a consolidated plan, because Union City has been laying along South Fulton Parkway zone as industrial. And so they're going out attracting big industrial people to come in. And guess what? That's okay. I'm fine with that. But it doesn't need to come up. It doesn't need to come all the way up to Stonewall Tail Road, right? South Fulton Parkway. They want to put some warehouses and stuff down on South Fulton Parkway. I'm down. Okay. But don't bring it all the way back up to Stonewall Tail right across from somebody's subdivision. That's where I draw the line. So I hear what you're saying. You know, I went back to them and told them that I would go ahead and do their meeting, but I also asked them to set up a second meeting to make it community-wide, because it's there now, right? And so now I want to know, how can we get some of these kids from Westlake up in there and get some jobs for the summer? You know, it's already there now. We can't blow it up, we can't tear it down. So now, how can we get some money out of it for these kids and put them to work? Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I want to know, you said, y'all gonna resurface black shows and all I'll tell you.
Yes, ma'am, there was $3 million set aside in the budget this year for the resurfacing. I may have it wrong on Flat Shows, but Stonewall Tail has just been resurfaced. I believe that Flat Shows Road is next. And they only wanted to do half of the road. They came to us and said they wanted to do half of it. I said, no, if we're going to pave the road, let's pave the whole road.
You saying pay, not patch, right?
Repave.
Repay, right?
Repave.
You can ride out there, they patching it.
Okay, well, yeah, they should be repaving the entire, they repaved Stonewall Tail, and so maybe in the progression, maybe they've been patching it until they get to it, and then maybe now that they've completed Stonewall Tail, maybe they're going there, but it should be, again, we got the money allocated for the complete repaving. Yes, ma'am. And Commissioner Darnell as well, because she was the one, no, well, because, see, this is what happened. We found out it was $20 million. The budget had already been set. I knew we couldn't get the full $20 million, and so I just went and asked for $2.5 million. And Commissioner Darnell went and asked for $2.5 million. And so she got her 2.5, I got my 2.5, and that's how we got to where we are and got the money to be able to repay both of those roads. Now, there are a lot more roads that need to be repaid in the county to some extent. With the T-Spot that's coming up on November, we'll be asking people to help pay for that. And you know, if we do, there'll be approximately $75 to $100 million for road improvements in South Fulton or New City of South Fulton, starting with Butler Road and that bridge and widening that bridge on Butler Road so we can get out of the neighborhood anymore.
Well, I'm gonna open y'all emails, so that's why I say I'm gonna open y'all.
I would commend you on noting that as an additional revenue that we haven't discussed yet, should that Fulton County T-Splosh be passed. I'm not sure the numbers. I know in our city we're looking at $35 million over 5 or 7 years, but that's something that we haven't discussed yet.
Yeah, so we've been doing meetings with the mayors. Fulton County Commission has been meeting with the 14 mayors throughout Fulton County over the last 2 years, and we came up with a population formula. I don't know how they're doing this. Originally, it was supposed to be a 1%. House Bill 170 passed last year. It was a 1% sales tax. Somehow they amended it this year, so now it's a 0.75% sales tax. Now, I don't know how you collect 0.75% of a penny, but the people down there at the State Department of Revenue, I guess they know how to do it. But we will get 0.75% of 1 penny, and each city gets a different amount. And then the cities are also working on plans. For example, Union City and Chattahoochee Hills will likely pool some money together for South Fulton Parkway. Point and College Park, we pulled money together for Main Street, or, you know, major roads that connect multiple cities. Representative Jones.
Yes, thank you. So I got a couple of questions, I know the answer to that, I just want to know the answer to those questions. The annexation in Union City that resulted in that Walmart being built, when did that occur?
I do not know the answer to that question offhand, but I can follow up and have Randy. Mr. Reed.
It occurred after we presented the first cityhood bill. So had we been able to vote for a city at that time, we would have locked the boundaries and that would not have happened. When you look at the map and see how that area was carved out, all the residential around it who could vote against a city who took that area and turned it into, is all unincorporated. Stonewall Tell Manor. So we don't get any say in that because they only took that area. Cityhood helps to stop that by incorporating. I hate that the gentleman in the blue left because that was kind of his point, that some people start moving and running when they hear the cityhood thing coming, whether it be property owners or otherwise. What the studies show, there are 2 other counties where this has occurred that have become completely municipalized. And as a result of that, the cherry picking, just like that when that occurred, resulted in the residents increasing their property tax rate by 23%. What they mentioned about how much you have in mortgage for your budget. And so we know that the cherry picking is going on. We see those kind of results. And if we do not vote to become a city, those things will continue. So that's one of the additional reasons why that's there. So, okay, and my last question, so I can stay before me. Dr. Wheeler, this gentleman asked about how much we spend on police. In the feasibility study, I think they use the DCA average to determine how much people spend on similar sized cities on police. Unincorporated South Fulton County is spending far less than the DCA average. And so we have the surplus because of this additional revenue will allow us to increase the amount we spend per capita if we so choose and our city council decides. Those are decisions that we get to make for ourselves that could not be made for ourselves because now we have to ask folks in Johns Creek and other places who aren't affected by it to make those decisions. So to kind of address that, since that was your concern, we can do that. The solution to do that is to create a city. We can stop those kind of annexations. The solution to do that is to create a city. And the gentleman in the blue who left, why we can't just stay unincorporated, because people want to do other loans, they start getting nervous, is because the cherry picking will eventually cost us more money in the end.
If I can add to that, the distinguished representative knows of which she speaks. Statewide, one of the biggest contentions in any annexation and often incorporation is incompatible land use. This gets our counties and cities into more disputes than anything else. The areas annexed, the county doesn't want to, and often the case, it's a new city, so it's a little different, doesn't want to grant the density, doesn't want to change the zoning to whatever the property owner wants to do, whether it be high density, could be a trailer park, manufactured housing community, could be a landfill, whatever. They don't get what they want, so they find a city to annex and do it. That right there leads to more conflict, more angst, more of my time, more of the city. And those fights come up to the General Assembly all the time. So if nothing else, I'm not advocating for or against the city, but land use, it's not going to stop. But adverse land use decisions made by elected officials who are not accountable to you, but to only those that live within their cities, is a major problem. And it drags us all into these fights. But that's something, we're talking a lot about fiscal, we're talking a lot about feasibility, those things, but land use itself should be worth taking special note of and having control and having your elected officials in control of making those land use decisions should play a very pivotal factor in your decision on whether or not to vote for incorporation.
And that's so true, Tom, because what we currently have and what you have in the Walmart situation is you have a Fulton County unincorporated land use plan, and then Union City has their own land use plan. And those two plans are not compatible, right? They've got industrial, we've got residential. Right, and so, and what we've got to do, to some extent, is reach across boundaries and have a more true, comprehensive land use development, land use plan that includes Union City, Chattanooga Hills, unincorporated, city of South Fulton, so that it is truly comprehensive. Because to say that you have a comprehensive plan and you just have one city or one unincorporated area, that plan can't be comprehensive because it doesn't include all the areas.
So I just want to remind everyone we're winding down to the last 30 minutes, so just want to do a time check.
Commissioner Arrington, thank you for saying that South Fulton Parkway is slated for industrial. I live immediately off of South Fulton Parkway, and many of us moved in that area because it's such a beautiful and peaceful ride, particularly if you've had a stressful day. And so that is a real big concern. And so thank you for just coming out and saying that, because when I ask the question, wherever I go, I get, well, maybe, we don't know, possibly. So now, to me, it's really definitive of what I'm thinking and what I'm seeing. I don't want to put you on the spot.
No, look, you can go to the Union City website. It's on their website. They advertise.
I haven't gone out there recently to do that. So that's my first point. But the second point is that Tuesday night, Union City is coming out with their comprehensive plan. And I know the county is working on theirs. So there, I think, is an opportunity to do what you were just talking about the two coming together, because we need some relief. I'm over here involved in an organization that's talking about quality growth, sustainable growth, and all I see is trucks and all this industrial planning, and we can do better than that, because that area is the only area left in the county that can be something so different other than 400. And so we really need help bad with that particular issue.
So let me tell you what's going on now with South Fulton Parkway. There's a group of, including Union City, the mayor of Union City, the mayor of Chattanooga Hills, and a group from the State Department of Transportation, Dr. Wheeler. But there's a group that is actually looking at planning, there's a group that's looking at planning to widen South Fulton Parkway. Right now, I think there's a 300-foot buffer. They're looking to try to get a 1,200-foot buffer, looking to involve MARTA. Basically, there is currently the Atlanta Aerotropolis initiative. And so there is a Georgia Aerotropolis initiative that basically picks up right where the Atlanta Aerotropolis initiative leaves off, and it picks up and goes from there to Douglas County, to a development out in Douglas County called Foxhall or something like that, which is at the end of South Fulton Parkway. And so there is a major effort, I think, one, to try to expand the right-of-way in South Fulton Parkway to 1,200 feet wide, so that they can put some type of mass transit down the middle and then still have lanes on each side. And so we met with some people to try to get that for next year.
And what about the industrial?
Say that again?
The industrial part of it?
The industrial part, I mean, again, like I say, it's just on Union City's website, and so we need to be at that meeting on Tuesday.
Will you be there?
If I will try to be there, if not, I will make sure that I try to have staff there.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm going to bring it around full circle as far as my heart and my passion is concerned, which is land use and zoning. I came to Atlanta in 1973 when Mayor Jackson introduced the neighborhood planning unit system, and the city of Atlanta was involved in the creation of NPUs. I was very active. I was born coming out of that movement. And Marvin, when you spoke about people coming out of their boxes and interacting with their surrounding jurisdictions, Southwest Atlanta, where your dad and I grew up, is surrounded by East Point, College Park, Fairburn, Hayfield. So you had to interact with surrounding jurisdictions. Don't let that line on a map keep you from talking to your neighbor, because what your neighbor wants to put in his backyard may not be compatible with you, which is the Walmart. And so I think if there's anything we can do, and now folks talk about a comprehensive plan, that's not a comprehensive plan. You know, when you could go to a meeting, you got 4 folk, that's not a comprehensive plan. So please use your authority, your being representative of the county and citizens to encourage them to come out and be involved and step over that line and go to the College Park and the Union City Council meetings when they're talking about zoning and land use, because it's going to impact you. Thank you.
Okay, before we start running out of time, I want to make sure that everybody understands what this bill does and what it doesn't do, okay? And as I said, I was the sponsor of the bill. You can get a copy of this bill on my website. It's rogerbruce.net, or you just go out there. It's about 63 pages long. And so I'm not going to try to go through this whole thing today. But what the bill does, it gives you the opportunity to vote and decide whether or not you want to be a city. It lays out, you know, how the city is going to be formed and operated. Now, again, this is not the original bill that I turned in. This bill, as the gentleman on the end said, there's no bill in the General Assembly that ends up the way it starts out. Is that a fair statement? And we had all kinds of things in here that are different. But now we had to settle on something to make sure that we got this bill passed. And that's what the art of compromise is down there. And so we came up with this legislation. Anything that's in here that we want to change, we can change it over time through local legislation. One of the things that, and this was actually surprising to me, one of the biggest questions that kept coming to me was, why are we calling this the city of South Fulton? People wanted some more dramatic name associated with it. The reason why we call it the city of South Fulton is kind of like a placeholder, for lack of a better term. And because that is the only thing that we could come up with that defines the entire area that we're talking about. We had people in Cliftondale say, let's name it Cliftondale, the city of Cliftondale. People in Sandtown, let's name it the city of Sandtown. Everybody wanted to name it after their little local community. The problem is that the other ones didn't want to do that. So the only thing that represented everybody was South Fulton. And what I would like to see, whoever the mayor and city council ends up being, I'd like to see them put it out to the citizens and say, what would you like to see, like the name of your city be called? And make it an event. Make it something that's real exciting, that everybody is tuned in trying to come up with a name for the city. And my suspicion is that some little kids about 5 years old is going to come up with something, and that's what we're going to go with. But whatever it is, it needs to reflect all of us. And right now, the only thing that reflects all of us is South Fulton. And we can change that. There have been questions about the city council and how many members. There's going to be 7 members on the council. Well, how do we come up with 7? When people approach me, and I don't see the gentleman here, but when I was approached and asked to sponsor this bill, my first reaction was I had all the same questions that everybody else in here has. And I said, well, before I get out there, I want to make sure that this entire area wants to be part of this new city. And I divided it up into 7 parts. And I divided it up in 7 parts based on the population, making sure that all of the area was represented. And I told them, I said, before I put my name on this, I want to see somebody from every one of these 7 parts saying that this is what their community wants. And that's how we came up with 7. And that's what they did. They went out, they talked to people, they came back, and they presented me with names of people from every one of those 7 pieces. That's how we came up with the 7. Now, I also told them I want to make sure that it was going to be fiscally sound. I said, go get the study done. And they went out and they raised $30,000. Well, they didn't raise it all at one time. They finally just paid it off a couple days ago, I understand. But they went out and they raised the money from other constituents in those areas. And they paid Georgia State $30,000 to do the study. That was not paid for by corporations. That was paid for by people who had an interest in what was going on. And so that's what happened. Then there was questions around, well, who's going to be the mayor? I don't know who's going to be the mayor. It could be somebody in this room that's going to be the mayor. Or somebody that's not in this room. You will have to decide who the mayor is going to be, who the city council is going to be, and it could be some people in this room, it could be some people not in this room. We don't know. But if it's not somebody that you want, don't vote for him or her. Vote for who you want. And if you don't think that anybody that's stepping up to the plate is the right one, then you step up to the plate. And you run. Okay? So don't get caught up in craziness. Okay? You know, this city is, you know, people saying, well, we don't know what's going to happen. It's the unknown. And it's natural. People fear the unknown. But be smart. You need to fear the known also. If you know that if you walk out in front of a bus and you're going to get hit, it's going to hurt, why would you walk out in front of the bus? That is known. Going into some of these existing cities is known. Look at the services that they're providing. Look at the things that happened when people got annexed before. And most of the people, I think you pointed out earlier, most of the annexations have been by the 100%, except for one area that I'm familiar with that was not. And it wasn't challenged, so they may not have even had the votes over there. My point is that you get to decide, and you get to influence your neighbors to decide what you want. Take advantage of it. Someone said, well, we can't afford it because we don't have skyscrapers. I've heard that over and over again. You just heard from the people that count the money, and they count it better than I do. We can afford it, and we're going to have some left over. And we got vacant land. If you want to build a big, tall building, be my guest. You don't need it, but you can build it, as they say. The other piece of this thing is that we have an opportunity, you know, okay, the other question was, well, can we afford to have a mayor and a city council? That was the other question. The way this is set up, it is not intended for the mayor and the city council to be full-time. They got to work somewhere, okay? It is intended for them to meet once a month and issue policy. They are to hire a city manager whose job it is all day, all night, all weekend to make sure that all the city services are provided. That will be that individual's job. That individual will be able to hire people who will run the various departments in the city. So that is the intent, is that they will have professional people running the day-to-day operation of the city. Okay? So I think I answered all of the pieces. This thing, like I said, I'm not going to go through this thing page by page, but I think I hit the questions that come to me the most about how the city is going to function. If there are other information that you want, just ask for it and I'll give it to you.
Let's do this before we close. Give we'll start with Dr. Wheeler, just give everyone a chance to make any closing statements or observations that you might want to make, and about annexation, de-annexation, and then we can hang around for Q&A and follow-up questions. But I want to be respectful of everyone's time, especially our panelists. Thank them for coming out.
Well, thank you for having me today. I have to say, from where I sit, I do some of this stuff on a regular basis, but I also study this stuff. And I have to say, maybe you don't find it exciting or complimentary, but you are ground zero for this, and so maybe you're tired of being ground zero for this, but I found it a very interesting discussion of all the issues that you have raised. I will say, I don't know that this needs to be said, but let's just make sure that under current law, there really is no other way other than incorporation to protect the boundaries that now exist. And perhaps there should be another way. This is something that comes up a lot when I'm asked to speak about these issues. Is there some other form of government that can exist without perhaps all the layers of an incorporated city? And under current Georgia law, there is nothing. And so the practice of cherry picking, as you would call it, happens around the country. It is not just here. I'm certainly not advocating anything. You need to also understand that, as a city, you would still exist in Fulton County. So that doesn't, allow anyone to escape from a county. Everyone who lives in a city lives in a county. So there is that aspect that doesn't, just make that disappear in any way, but it does change the nature of the relationship. So I wish you all luck. I'm not advocating. There are reasons to do this and reasons not to do this, and so I applaud you for taking a part in the process.
And my last statement is that when we leave here, you got to do something. Don't just sit here for 3 hours or however long we've been here and walk out and do nothing. Talk to your neighbors. Let them know what you learned today. If you still have questions, invite me, invite Ladon, invite whoever to come to your meetings in your community, and we will come. If you happen to want one of those t-shirts that everybody's walking around with, stand up. JC, stand up over there. JC has the t-shirts. He said he's not going to give you one unless you volunteer to make sure that somebody in your community is also aware of what's going on. So see JC on the way out, he'll get you one of the t-shirts. But as I'm saying, I applaud you for being here today. I'm glad that you're here, but don't let this be the end of it. Go back to your community and educate your community as to what's going on. And if you don't do that, then you're asking for the outcome, and that outcome may not be what you want. So thank you again for being here, and thank you, Commissioner, for pulling this together. We're going to have more meetings all over the South Fulton. Make sure that you come if you still have questions, have them in your communities, and we're going to work together and make this happen.
I'll go ahead and let you guys, and I'll go last.
Yeah, thank you so much for the invitation. Again, we're here just for informational purposes. If you want to check any information on Fulton County's budget, including information on South Fulton, just feel free to go in online. You can look at your search engine and put Fulton County budget, and it will take you straight to where you need to go. And you will find all the information related that was discussed today in that website. Thank you.
And on behalf of finance, thank you for letting us come out. Again, we're not advocating annexation, we're not advocating a municipality or unincorporated, but again, we do want to make sure that all that information is distributed so everybody can make a smart decision. Certainly, if there were to be a new city, I think personally what I would tell those individuals is be very smart financially about how you assemble your new government entity. The type of benefit plan you select. Do I decide to provide health care after my employees have retired? What types of of insurance? Do I want to protect the municipality? There's a lot of strategic decisions that, if made correctly, can save a lot of money over the long term. But thank you, ladies.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for allowing me this opportunity. I get to participate in a lot of these discussions at the statewide level or in different areas of the state. This is truly fascinating, what's happening in Fulton County. Oh, nowhere else in the state is there a county that is so highly municipalized other than the area we're now talking about in the South Fulton County. This is new ground. I got in here and I learned a lot, quite frankly. I mean, we usually hear different issues the same, but different perspectives. I live in Fulton, I live in East Point, so it's near and dear, but y'all are dealing with a rather unique situation. I wish you luck. Obviously, we don't take a position on the creation of a new city with the Association of County Commissioners, but y'all heard it all. Y'all are there. These are real. What y'all seen with these islands and dealing, that does make me angry, I'm going to be honest with you. What they've done to your potential new city, I don't think it's fair. We fight it all the time with the state, but it's not right. Y'all have the opportunity to do something about it, and good luck. Godspeed, so to speak, and I wish y'all the best of luck, and I know your frustrations dealing with it for the rest of the state, and who knows, maybe soon you'll have a new city. If not, that may work out as well, but it's been a pleasure speaking, and I really learned a lot, and I've enjoyed the opportunity, so thank you, Commissioner, Representative, and all of y'all that put this together.
And I just want to take this time to thank everyone again for coming out, particularly for our panelists, for coming out to share that information. Give them a big round of applause. We will be around for Q&A, but we thought it was very important to do this. We wanted to make sure we have a real good conversation and a real good educational component. We want people to make informed decisions, and we want to make sure that everyone has all of the facts. And sometimes, you know, it may not necessarily be presented, or sometimes people may not trust the information because they believe that there's an agenda behind it and someone is pushing an agenda. And so what we attempted to try to do was to present the information in a neutral fashion, for the most part, although as you can probably tell, I'm for the city of South Fulton. But we attempted to put people in place, experts that deal with this on a daily basis, and allow them to share their information, knowledge, and expertise with you, so that you can truly make an informed decision. And you know, at this point, the Fulton County Commissioners wanted everyone to get a chance to vote. Our legislators were able to get the legislation passed so that everyone will now have an opportunity to vote in November. And I think, you know, the next big thing we have to do now is we have to make sure that we push an agenda that will allow the city of South Fulton to pass. We have to make sure that we don't get angry at people that have questions about annexation and they may not be in support of it. We don't have to attack people because they don't support the city of South Fulton. And especially if we want, I think that's very important if we think we want to get over 50% of these people that are unincorporated. Some people just may have questions, and it's okay if they have questions. Let's try to do our best to answer those questions and not attack those people for having questions and for maybe having a different opinion. Let's, you know, work with them and ask them to work with us to help us get a new city of South Fulton. Thank you.
Everybody from the Georgia HOA Alliance, I want to extend a thank you to the panel, to all of the people who took time to come out for the information. We did record, so we will put this out and make it available for you all to review, so you can see that, again, this non-biased approach is really all about you all making an informed decision. Also, I want to thank Westlake High School for sure for providing us with the facility. I know there's some graduates in here, I'm going to call you all out because it's probably everybody. And then I want to specifically thank Mr. Wayne Williams, who's the head of the custodial services here. He went above and beyond. 80 years old, corner high. I'm not going to do a picture. All right, thank you all.